Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because, let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or at DSW.com. Let us surprise you.
Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jayson Paige starts now.
Indeed, and great to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of the show. So much to do over the next 60 minutes. We'll be joined by our friend Bill Bender of the Sporting News, because he does a lot more than just college football. He reports and analyzes college basketball as well. He's doing bracketology over at the Sporting News. So we'll get some thoughts with him. We're going to talk to him every Monday through the rest of the college basketball season about all things college hoops. So we're looking forward to that. There's news to get to from the NBA. Jayson Tatum getting closer to making a comeback. We had our first hole-in-one in TGL golf. Sam Yarnell and myself will run through that, as Sam will join me coming up in a couple of minutes to talk about what I'm going to be talking about right now, what we start the show out with every day. It's time for the big story. And the big story today is Klint Kubiak, the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, look, everybody kind of knew this deal was going to happen. It was just a matter of when the Seahawks season ended. But the offensive coordinator for Seattle becoming the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm trying to find reason to be optimistic. I'm trying to find reason to think that, this organization finally has the guy to turn it around. I'm not a Las Vegas Raiders fan per se, but I live in Las Vegas now. We bring you the show every day from Las Vegas. So obviously, I want to be in a city where the NFL team in that market is successful. It's better for me. It's better for the show. It's just better to cover sports in a city where you have a functioning, solid NFL team. The problem for the Raiders is this. Every time they're making one of these hires, they're doing it from a position of being the worst team in their division. You're not looking up at you can't even think of it in the context of the Raiders having to look up at all of the AFC. You just have to think about it within the context of looking at your own division. Are they better than the Chiefs, even with all the uncertainty around Patrick Mahomes? No. Are they better than the Chargers, who just went to the playoffs and have one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert? No. Are they better than the Denver Broncos, who have an up-and-coming good young quarterback, albeit with some health issues in Bo Nix, and a Super Bowl winning head coach in Sean Payton, and a team that just went to the playoffs and frankly could have been in the Super Bowl if Bo Nix hadn't been healthy? Are they better than that team? No. So you're operating from a position of Klint Kubiak having to come in here, knowing the graveyard of coaches that sit beside Allegiant Stadium, whether it's Chip Kelly, whether it's Antonio Pierce, whether it's John Gruden, whether it's Pete Carroll, and we go on and on and on. This is what you're walking into. It's a very daunting task for Klint Kubiak. And I know a lot of people will say, well, it's different now. Tom Brady's there. Tom Brady's a minority owner, and he's going to have a more active hand and a more active role in sort of shaping the future of this organization. And while that sounds good on the surface, I can give you a lot of examples of former players who have gone into the ownership game and have failed miserably. Most notably, the greatest player in the history of the NBA, Michael Jordan. Most notably, one of the greatest players in the history of baseball, and Derek Jeter. So I can give you a lot of examples. Now, you can give me Jerry West, and we could go around and around on this. But to just automatically assume that a great former player, an all-time great in Tom Brady, is going to be able to come in here, rub his hands, throw some fairy dust in the air, and suddenly the Raiders are going to be good just because of that. That's flawed logic. If this thing is going to work, it's going to work because Klint Kubiak is allowed to come in here, given the time he needs to succeed. Let's not pull the ripcord on this if the Raiders go, 7-10 next year or 6-11 next year with Fernando Mendoza as their starting quarterback. You got to give this guy time to build this thing the way he needs to. It can't just be another one and done or a two and done situation here for Mark Davis. They have to be willing to invest the time in Klint Kubiak and allow him to be successful. That's big story number one. Big story number two, a complete U-turn from what we were just talking about. You may not know the story of the young man on the screen, Nikola Topic. He was drafted a couple of years ago by the Oklahoma City Thunder and was thought that he could be a really big star for this team down the line. I think they drafted him 12th a couple of years ago. Well, he tore his ACL, basically missed his first year. Then he was diagnosed with testicular cancer before the start of this season, in the offseason. And up until now, obviously hasn't played while he was undergoing treatment for testicular cancer. Well, a great story. Last night, Nikola Topic suited up for the Oklahoma City Thunder's G League team, the Oklahoma City Blue, had 7 points, 7 assists as they played against Sioux Falls out there in the G League. I actually watched some of the game out here in Las Vegas because it was on one of the local channels out here. As a matter of fact, it was on the channel that our show airs on, Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. Very cool story. But this is more than just a feel-good story. If Nikola Topic is healthy and finally has the health issues that he's dealt with, the ACL injury, and then obviously the testicular cancer, which is far more severe and potentially hazardous to his health. If he has those things put behind him, you're talking about another weapon for this team that is loaded with young weapons and could be a huge future star for this organization that is now back in the mix. He's not going to be in the G League the entire season, I can promise you. This guy will be with the NBA team at some point this year. And a team as deep as the Thunder may not even need him this year, but the mere fact of thinking about how much depth and how much talent sits within this organization and what Sam Presti has done and how he's built this franchise, it's scary to think that the Thunder are just getting started. When we talk about the greatness of this franchise. We saw them beat the Lakers last night in Los Angeles. Obviously no SGA for the Thunder, no Luka Doncic for the Lakers, but it's going to be a lengthy run of success. I don't know how many titles it winds up equaling for the Thunder when all is said and done, but there is going to be an extended run of greatness for this Thunder franchise. And the story of Nikola Topic, whether you're a Thunder fan or not, certainly one to root for with everything he has had to overcome. We'll talk more about the Klint Kubiak hire with the Vegas Raiders next. We'll talk some college basketball 10 minutes from now with Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Yes, I said Bill Bender. He does college football, and then he does college basketball, and then he does some NFL in the offseason. The guy is he is a Swiss Army knife over there at the Sporting News. So looking forward to talking to him. Sam Yarnell is here for the first time today. Well, no shock here. I mean, we all knew Klint Kubiak was going to be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He gets a 5-year deal, and now the Raiders are paying 6 different coaches when only one is actually the head coach, which is pretty amazing. Sam Yarnell. Look, here's the problem for me, and I'm in Las Vegas, okay? I host the show from Las Vegas. I want the Raiders to be good. I want a reason to go see my first game at Allegiant Stadium. I've lived here for 2 football seasons. I haven't gone to a single game, not as a member of the media, not as a fan, nothing, because there's really no reason to go. I want this team to be successful. I want to become like a big Las Vegas sports fan. The Golden Knights, we're going to have the A's here, all of that. The problem is you enter from a position, almost every coach that's come in here and had to coach this team, from Pete Carroll to Chip Kelly to McDaniels you're always coming in the position of you're the worst team in the division when you come in. And that is a very tall order for any head coach, no matter how talented you may or may not be. That is a very tall order to have to come in every year. Every time a new head coach comes in, you're coming in and you're staring up not just at the rest of the conference, you're staring up at the rest of your division to begin with, Sam. So it's a very tough position. I hope Klint Kubiak is successful. You know, we've tried to make arguments for every head coach that comes in here on why they could be successful. The one reason I can give you why it's very difficult to succeed here with the Raiders is you're coming into a good division and you're coming in as the worst team in the division.
Well, yes, that is what you are saying is 100% true, Jayson. What is also true is that we very more frequently than not see head coaches win Super Bowls in their first or second or third. I don't think third is very, very frequent. I think it's just first or second year as head coaches. So those changes are seismic within organizations, but when they happen and they happen very, very fast. When you think about, kind of the direction that the Raiders are heading in, and I know, what you said is something that a lot of people are talking about, and it's so true. Like, this is an organization that is paying 6 head coaches right now. They have not been an organization that has been apt at hiring the right guy for the last 10 years. That feels fair. 10 years since they had a good hiring. Like, was Jack Del Rio the last good hire? Whatever. Regardless.
Well, John Gruden was a good hire until it
freaking blew up in their face because they didn't do enough research on the guy before they hired him.
Yes.
Like, that is my point, right? They haven't done enough from an organizational standpoint. What I'll say is, this was the first head coaching search that Tom Brady said he was leading, said he was partaking in, said he was actively being part of the organization during. So I do have a little more faith in Klint Kubiak potentially being the guy to get this team over the hump. And, we kind of talked about it yesterday very, very briefly. But when you look at this division, while yes, they are far and away coming into the season right now, the worst team in that division. I don't think anyone would have any gripes with me saying that, even Raiders fans. That division also has the most potential turnover, volatility this offseason when you got Mahomes coming off the torn ACL, Bo Nix coming back off of the broken foot with a team that I think a lot of people thought were lucky to get where they were this season, much like the Patriots. They were kind of the Patriots of the AFC West. And then the Chargers, who you're really going to believe in Jim Harbaugh for the entirety of a regular season and the playoffs. I know they're going to be better next year with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt back, and that offensive line will look different, and maybe will get a couple more weapons. But at the end of the day, it's a coach and a quarterback that you can't trust. So the volatility within the AFC West, Jayson, is what's giving me more hope, and I think should give Raiders fans more hope than anything right now for their team to do well next season under Klint Kubiak.
The other thing you pointed out, and we talked about this off the air, is they've got cap space. So they can, and now a lot of that is, as you rightly pointed out when we were talking off the air about it as well, has to go into the offensive line, and they might be able to do some things via the draft as well. But, the fact that they have all this cap space, when you're Klint Kubiak and you're looking at the potential jobs you can take coming into this season, that had to be the combination of that. Tom Brady, Fernando Mendoza. There's a lot of, as much as I talk about where this team has been, the fact they're paying another 5 head coaches outside of the one that they're currently employing, the fact that they've got all that cap space, Tom Brady, Fernando Mendoza, Ashton Genty, who certainly showed signs last year, is definitely an upside. The Max Crosby situation, though, is very interesting, Sam.
It's tough. It's a really tough one, as I guess I'm going to have to become our resident Raiders guy starting now. I really hope that he plays for the Raiders next year. He is, when healthy and on it, right? He is a top 5 top 3 edge rusher in the game. Like he is so good and means so much for that defense, which, you know, you said it, Jason, they have to invest a lot in this team this offseason, and it starts with the offensive line, and that's quickly followed by the defense, especially the secondary, right? So they have to make the right moves, and it's going to take some buy-in from Max Crosby, who we saw at the end of last season, or at the end of this past season, may not be on the best terms organizationally with the team right now. I think that there's still room there for them to get back together and try to grow this thing as one. But Jason, that's not the kind of player that you want to have a necessarily unsteady relationship with when you're in a rebuilding period of your franchise.
I asked people yesterday, and I was asking Raider fans and football fans in general, the first hire that you need Klint Kubiak to make. Somebody brought up the name, said, go get Jim Schwartz. Yeah. So I've heard a lot worse suggestions than that. You know, the idea of bringing in somebody like that, you know, to come and help out Klint Kubiak, I don't think would be the worst move in the world. By the way, real quick.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. You got a guy who's hungry, bringing him into the same conference, who just quit his job and is really good at it. I love it.
For those who can't watch the show, if you're listening to us on the podcast version, the 5 coaches the Raiders are still paying: John Gruden, Josh McDaniel, Antonio Pierce, Chip Kelly, and now Pete Carroll.
Oh my gosh.
Just for those who couldn't see the graphic that's up on the screen, those are the coaches that the Raiders are paying. By the way, Mark Davis, if you want to put me on payroll to do nothing, I even live in Vegas. I'm not going anywhere. We're coming back with Bill Bender next. Welcome back to the show. I said we'd do some college basketball. Promised that yesterday. Look at this guy. He's much more than just a college football guy. I now have to add bracketologist to the many titles that we put on Bill Bender of the Sporting News. We normally talk college football with him. He's got to do something when college football is not going on. But then again, Bill, when is college football not going on?
Yeah, you know, this is actually the next couple months are my favorite 2 months in a lot of ways, because I get to do some college basketball, some NFL draft, and of course college football as it pops up. But here's my hot take right off the top rope.
Okay.
I think the potential for the March Madness NCAA basketball tournament could be more exciting than the college football playoff was, because of the number of teams that aren't just national title contenders. They are fun watches, and they are really good. I mean, it's like 12 deep. Wow.
I'm impressed. That is a hot take. That is a hot take right out of the get-go here. So let's talk about, I mean, we're probably going to spend an entire segment here on Kansas and Arizona last night, because it was that good and had that much drama attached to it. So give me, you know, your sort of top line take with no Darren Peterson and Kansas doing what they did.
Well, I mean, Big Monday, right? Like that stat that was floating around
crazy.
Yesterday about, what was it, 60-0 or 50-0, something to that effect, where they haven't lost a Big Monday game in Allen Fieldhouse. And that's, again, what I'm talking about, high-level basketball. Both of those teams are high-level teams. We've complained for years and not been attached to these basketball teams in college basketball since the one-and-done rule. But this felt like watching, you know, Kansas and Arizona way back in 1988 when they played in the Final Four, or one of those high-level 1990s games. This is really good for the sport. Arizona's a very good basketball team, but that's asking a lot. I mean, their next 3 games are against ranked teams too. And Kansas turns around and plays Iowa State. This is what I'm talking about. We don't have football. That's okay. The next month is going to be amazing in the Big 12.
There's so many different directions to go from this game, Bill, and I think we can get to the Arizona side of it in a second. But from a Kansas perspective, there have been questions around this team all year, but at the end of the day, this is now a team, I think it's the first team in history that's beaten 2 different teams that were 15-0 or better in the same season, right? Handed a team their first loss twice in the same season, and that team had 15-plus wins coming in. What does it say to you about what this Kansas team can do in the tournament, beating the number 1 team in the nation on a big Monday night without their best player?
Well, even without Peterson, if Melvin Council can shoot 6 of 25 and they win the game, and obviously they were making jokes about it in the press conference, he's kind of their X-factor player to me, though. He hits free throws. If he gets hot from three, they're going to be tough to beat. And they've been trending upward for a minute. It wasn't just Monday night. I think, you look at Kansas's record, 19-5. They're kind of that team that looks like a number 4, but could climb up to a number 3, even a number 2. I mean, I always think the Big 12 still I'm saying this, it's still your validation in the Big 12 runs through beating Kansas. I'll put it that way. It's not like Houston's not good or validated, but I mean, Houston had to beat Kansas a few times before we took them seriously, and Arizona will probably face the same battle. That's still a very good Arizona team.
Elsewhere, I guess within the Kansas space, the Darren Peterson not playing last night has earned him this nickname on the internet, DNP, for his initials. Bill, I'm just curious, what is the Darren Peterson not the saga over the course of this entire year with him playing and then not playing and choosing to sit out and the flu-like symptoms? What does it say to you about the current state of college sports?
Well, I mean, this is part of the deal. And now, a lot of the conversation around him in the NCAA tournament will revolve around the NBA draft. And, is this really the number 1 pick? We did this with Cooper Flagg last year. Remember, he got hurt in the ACC tournament, and there was a considerable deal of, quite frankly, idiotic conversation about him sitting out the NCAA tournament. I think what we forget sometimes is these kids, they're competitors. Yes, he's going to make a lot of money at the next level, but I mean, we want to see him play. Well, if you weren't going to play in college basketball, why did you play? You're there to play, go play. And we'll see how he does in the tournament. But I mean, he adds another, if they can beat Arizona without him, imagine what they can do with him.
But is it as simple as, guys start to hear the chatter that they could be number 1, and then people close to them start to say, all right, you've got to look out for you. I mean, is it as simple as that?
I think it's a poor lesson in life, though. And, we were kind of talking before I came on about coaching. I do. I mean, Zion Williamson played in the tournament. He didn't have to. Remember, he blew his shoe out. And, he had that leg injury, and we didn't think he was going to play. I'm not saying every NBA GM is going to think that way. I want the guy that competes. I do. I mean, and you're not like when they say, well, you're jeopardizing, what are you really jeopardizing? Like, who's the last guy who ruined his career by playing in the NCAA tournament? Didn't Kenyon Martin had one of the nastiest injuries in March Madness history in the conference tournament, and he did just fine at the next level.
Bill, on the other side of that game, from the Arizona perspective, obviously your most recent bracketology after the game still has them as a number 1 seed, but you kind of touched on it. Their last 7 games of the season in conference are a gauntlet. I think it's fair to say that. How do you see the rest of the season playing out for Koa Pete and this incredibly talented Arizona team?
Well, I mean, they're going to have some blemishes. I mean, before yesterday, it's kind of the same way I feel about Michigan, honestly. Right now, I think Arizona and Michigan are the 2 best teams in the country. They're probably the 2 most fun watches in the country. But you're going to have blemishes down the end. You look at Arizona, you mentioned 3 straight ranked teams. They were on pace. Before last night, I was like, this is on pace to be the best Arizona team since 1988. That had Sean Elliott, Lute Olson's first Final Four team. They're that good. But you're going to have bumps along the way. It's weird watching Gonzaga or Arizona. I'm getting to this part. That's like Gonzaga again with Tommy Lloyd. I mean, and obviously Tommy has a connection to Mark Few. It's like having a second Gonzaga in college basketball. I mean, I hope those two end up seeing each other in the West region. What a game that would be.
Hanging out with Bill Bender, giving us some time from the Sporting News, does a terrific job. I mentioned, and Sam mentioned your bracketology, which I definitely want to get into. Real quick, before we wrap up the segment here, and I want to bring you back for one more. There's only one. Is Miami of Ohio the only undefeated team left?
Yeah, and hopefully that ends Friday night when they play the Ohio Bobcats on a flexed-in MAC game that got moved from Saturday to Friday. So, I'm making a joke there being an Ohio alum, but this Miami team's really good. They're solid. Prep Steele's done a nice job coaching them. And the MAC, every once in a while, they have a truly special team. When they get in the tournament, you don't want to see them.
No.
And then I go back, obviously Wally Zerbiak's making a lot of rounds because he was the last guy to do it with Miami.
Yes.
he had 43 points in a tournament game where they scored like 53 points and beat Washington kind of by himself. So I'm looking forward to it.
Bill Bender's going to hang out for one more segment. Got to talk about UConn and St. John's. They played a beauty the other night.
If you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or personal loans, help is here. More and more Americans turn to credit cards to get by. National Debt Relief is helping qualified clients reduce what they owe. For many, continuing to struggle making minimum monthly payments could take years to pay off. National Debt Relief has already helped over 550,000 Americans reduce their debt by negotiating directly with their creditors. When you call, you'll be amazed at how much you can save and how quickly you can become debt-free. If you want off the debt treadmill, visit nationaldebtrelief.com today. You don't need to declare bankruptcy, and you may qualify for significant debt relief. To find out what savings you may qualify for, simply visit nationaldebtrelief.com. That's nationaldebtrelief.com.
Welcome back to the show. Bill Bender hanging out with us from the Sporting News. Bracketologist Bill Bender. How do you feel about court storming? I got to get your thought on this because Sam yelled at me yesterday when I brought this up. North Carolina ranked 14th in the country. I know it's Duke and it's your arch rival. Is that a good court storm? 14
No.
nuts. Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Some schools should be above it. North
Thank
Carolina
you.
has how many national championships in the rafters?
See,
How
Sam
many-
Yarnell.
It's not even about, okay, like, it's a little bit about these guys are paid now. So the second one of them gets like an injury. And this one is more like, we were just talking about sitting out the tournament. You're more likely to get injured in a court storming than you are just playing basketball, in my opinion. So to answer your question, I think there should be rules. I think if you beat number one as an unranked team, it's permitted. If you have a rival school, say like Indiana, Ohio State, for example, in football, if Indiana had like a 30-game losing streak to their rival or a Big Ten powerhouse, you can storm the court then. But I think it should be very few and far between. It's become something that I do think somebody will end up getting hurt. John Shire had a right to be mad.
Come on, Sam.
The paying players thing is that's part of it that I did not think about. And you know, that's an interesting leg to it all. It is essentially professional athletes now. It's not just your classmate anymore. But I hear you, Bill. I do think that there is something. You should definitely storm the court when you beat the number one. I do think it has gotten a little bit too frequent in college basketball these days. But I was just saying that for the sake of old times between Duke and North Carolina, anytime someone wins that rivalry, you should be allowed to storm the court, even if it's in the ACC tournament.
Well, and it just shows that rivalry hasn't diminished one bit, even with the changes in college basketball. It's always the most intense. I mean, even guys, I always say up here in Ohio, my buddies and I take sides in that rivalry. Like I root for Duke typically. I've got a buddy that roots for North Carolina, but we're like, it's just we've been doing it since we were kids. By the way, one of the best Super Bowl commercials, I don't know if you saw the one with Christian Laettner and like the Kentucky Bank.
Yes.
I'll send that to you. That was amazing.
Yes.
Like, I mean, the fact that they still have that hatred for Christian Laettner all these years later, absolutely amazing.
Let me ask you, I mean, is UConn one of those teams when you have them as like the last of the one seeds for you in the bracketology? Is that one where that's where you think they should be or where they will wind up being? Because, they stick out like a sore thumb when it comes to KenPom when you look at when you look at, where they sit in KenPom at 8 versus, Arizona, Michigan, Duke 1, 2, and 3, not necessarily in that order. Do you feel like UConn's going to get one of those one seeds ultimately?
It's tenuous because we talked about that game against St. John's on Friday. Right now, we only have three Big East teams in the tournament. Between UConn, St. John's, Villanova's having a really good year, and then you get into like some bubble teams like Seton Hall and Creighton. So it would be very easy for the committee to slide up a second Big 12 team like an Iowa State or a Houston, especially Houston, because we're used to seeing them on that number one line anyway. Or if Florida continues to do what they're doing in the SEC, which has all these, they're kind of cannibalizing themselves a little bit like football, honestly. But, if Florida got caught hot, won the SEC tournament, I could see them sliding UConn down to a number 2. But it's not like the Huskies and Dan Hurley aren't a known commodity. I mean, I think St. John should be seated higher. They're Ken Pom, exactly what you were just saying, Jason. It doesn't agree with their rankings, but they probably should be ranked a little bit higher.
Do you agree with what Doug Gottlieb was saying? I don't know if you saw the thing from Doug Gottlieb where he was getting into Ken Pom and where he thinks it's flawed, I guess you could say. I don't know if you saw what he said. If people didn't get a chance, go and look at it online. But talking about sort of the flaws within Ken Pom.
So when I do my bracketology, I have a spreadsheet that I take everybody's Ken Pom and everybody's net, and then I average the two and see what that says. And is it perfect? No, but I think that's a decent gauge. But to his point, when you think about it, at some point, teams like UConn, teams like Kentucky, you're like, or North Carolina, I'm like, North Carolina's really good. Why is their Ken Pom this? And I do think one of the things we rest on too much is quad 1. It's like if you have one quad 2 loss, you're like damned in some ways. And I just, this is college basketball. Sammy just talked about it. We have court stormings for a reason. You can have an off night.
Ask Gonzaga against the Portland Pilots. Right. Go ahead, Sam.
I was just, Bill, it's something that's been on my mind, and Jayson loves to talk about UConn, and we talked a lot about the UConn St. John's game the other day. But the state of the Big East, how do you feel about the Big East right now?
I still love it. I mean, but you're talking to a Catholic school kid with son in Catholic school, high school. And so we sit around and watch Xavier. And I love watching Xavier, by the way. I know they're not having the year they want to have right now, but I enjoy these games, and I do enjoy. One of my favorite moments of last year was getting to explain to Grant, my high school son that's a freshman, about just watching him watch Rick Pitino. And I just said, watch how these guys play defense. Watch what he'll get the most out of them for sure. So I do like the Rick Pitino, Dan Hurley at the top of it and the UConn St. John's dynamic. I wish there were more teams like that. It makes you yearn for the old Big East. But at the same time, this is the problem. After Villanova, like you said, it's a little bit rough.
Bill Bender, ladies and gentlemen, a product of the Catholic school system. As am I, by the way, and we see how that turned out. Sam, did you do Catholic school at all? No. Okay, that's fine. We won't hold it against you. It's okay. St. Vincent de Paul. But now the doors are now closed to that school, by the way. Bill Bender does a terrific job. Check out his bracketology over at the Sporting News. We will link to it for those watching the show over on YouTube as well. Thank you, my friend. Always good to catch up.
Hey, thank you.
Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. Let's talk some NBA. Tuesday edition of the show. We do some NBA talk. Kurt Heelan joins us every Wednesday from NBCSports.com. Covers the NBA. Says he's got a Lakers game to go to tonight. I texted him last night as I was watching the Lakers and the Thunder. Thought I had a nice little money line bet on the Lakers last night at home plus 225. Yeah. I won a couple of live bets, and then I lost it with the Lakers last night. Thought last night was going to be a big night, though. Hit a couple of live bets. Then I hammer the Lakers at plus 225 as a home. Jason Page loves his home underdogs. I'm a sucker for a home underdog. It didn't go well. No?
I laid 4.5 with the U.S. Women's Olympic Hockey Team yesterday. Cover!
They actually, and by the time people see this, that game will be over. They got Canada today. It's one of the rare times you can get the U.S. at like decent odds. I think they're like minus 150, something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, have fun with that.
No?
I'm telling you that U.S. women's hockey team, they're a wagon. If you're betting that, well, if you bet that game, now I'm speaking to you retrospectively, but if you bet that game earlier
Sam's
today.
Speaking to you from the past.
From the past, but from the future, also from the past. If you bet that game today and you bet the money line instead of laying the puck line with the U.S. women's national team, you blew it, because if that team's going to win, they're going to win by 2 goals.
Let's talk some NBA here. Jayson Tatum gonna go. Looks like he's got his G League assignment, and I guess it's all but a foregone conclusion he'll be back playing for the Celtics soon enough. And look, if you're that team and you're Jayson Tatum and you're watching the way they played against the Knicks over the weekend on Super Bowl Sunday, you're saying we need Jayson Tatum if we're going to beat the Knicks in a 7-game series, Sam.
If you're Jayson Tatum, you're sitting there watching Jaylen Brown, who, let's not forget, absolutely stole an MVP, finals MVP right out from under your feet. And a conference finals MVP, but that's neither here nor there. Right out from under your feet, having a career year, leading this team to somehow still remain in the conversation for contention after everyone had written them off to be one of the worst teams in the league because you weren't going to be there. Oh, well, yeah, if you're Jayson Tatum, then you do have to hurry back because you worry so much about your ego. You don't want to let anyone get in the way of it. No, this is horrible. This is a disservice to the NBA, a disservice to the sport of basketball, what Jayson Tatum is currently doing. And it's upsetting, right? Because when healthy, right, Jayson Tatum is potentially a top 10 player in the NBA. And for him to maybe take that away from all of us, should he re-injure himself? Like, I don't know. It's hard to buy in that any of this is going to go well, that Jayson Tatum is going to be anything more than a shadow of his former self when we're, I don't know, do the quick math, 7 months removed from him shredding his Achilles.
Why not? But here's the thing. But
we're getting ridiculous with all this.
Hold on a second. If you baby him back in, you start, let's say 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, he's back with the team. You play him, 20 to 22 minutes a night. You don't have to play him 36 minutes. You play him for 22, 25, 20 to 22 minutes. You make sure he's on the floor late in games. You don't even have to play him with Jaylen Brown most of the time. Frankly, LeBron James and Luka don't play on the floor together all that often. They're really on the floor mostly together in the fourth quarter. Maybe I don't know. I think there's a way it could work and still be advantageous for the Celtics to have him. It's hard to argue that it's ever a bad thing if you could have him back. I get the idea of you don't know what version of Jayson Tatum you're going to be getting coming off this injury. Usually the first year coming out of this surgery is tough for guys. You don't really get it back till the second year and sometimes even the third year. If you get it back at all, ask Klay Thompson. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how if he's cleared to play and they say he can play, I don't know how you don't put him out there.
That's the thing, though. It's hard. I just have trouble saying that it's anything but selfish for him to want to come back this early after this injury with his team doing as well as they are and Jaylen Brown playing as well as he is.
They're doing well, but they're not going to beat the Knicks or the Pistons in a 7-game series without him. They don't have
to beat the Knicks or the Pistons for 3.5 more months. Like, that doesn't matter until May. You're going to make the playoffs. You don't have to worry about the play-in.
But you got to work them in. You got to work them in. You can't just throw them back in at the end of the year and think, hey, everything's just going to click and be great. You can't do that. You can
work him. It's the NBA playoffs. You can work him in during the first round. You're not going to lose to a team that's coming out of the play-in. You are the Boston Celtics, the 4 seed in the East.
Yeah, I still
play
think
him for 20 minutes a night, sure, but do it in the first round, not in February. What are we doing here?
Maybe
this is gonna bite them all in the rear end. I'm telling you right now, it is.
Cavaliers beat the Nuggets last night. Good win for the Cavs. James Harden doing his James Harden thing because it's the regular season and wait until the playoffs, and then we'll see what that looks like. But a good win. And look, Cavaliers are kind of surging. And again, kind of flying under the radar because they had a tough start to the season. I don't want to play that Cavaliers team in the postseason. Even with James Harden and everything that comes with him, I don't want to play him. I'm not going to let you comment on that because I want to talk about...
You're right. I'm with you.
All right. Lakers lose last night to the Thunder. The big headline coming out of that game, LeBron James after the game saying, we're not a title team. You wonder if this is the beginning of the crumbling of that LeBron situation and him being somewhere else next year.
Yes, it was the beginning of it all when he had the fight with Jeannie Buss 2 weeks ago. He's as good as gone, Laker fans.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of an awkward remainder to the season. Thank you, Lakers, for blowing that game in the fourth quarter and costing me a money line bet. That's okay. I'll bet you again sometime. We're coming back with Odds and Ends next. Welcome back to the show. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Wednesday on the show, Kurt Heelan is here. Pro basketball talk is his jam. NBCSports.com's NBA insider. Be curious to see what he's hearing after the LeBron James comments that we were talking about at the end of the last segment. The Lakers losing last night. They didn't have Luka Doncic. Thunder were without SGA, who's dealing with that ab injury. By the way, Jared McCain was very good in that game. That I'm telling you, that is a pickup when we get to May and June, and you're talking about this Thunder team. Watch that Jared McCain move. That's a very good move they made at the trade deadline. Couple of reminders before we go. First off, the Sports Wrap with Jayson Page podcast. The audio version of this show available Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to the show, this very same show, Monday through Friday. Again, wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe today. The Sports Wrap with Jayson Page YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to this yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. It is the TV version of the show available there Monday through Friday. We also have Sports Wrap Shorts there. If you haven't checked out Sports Wrap Shorts, they are 1 to 3 minute long clips. Quick hot takes on the top stories of the day as news breaks, because we can't get everything into this 45-minute show, 60-minute show. When you add commercials, we have to have Sports Wrap Shorts available for you. So when news breaks, top games, go and check out Sports Wrap Shorts. They're also available on our TikTok. Sports Wrap Jayson Page is the name to look for there. And on our Instagram as well, Sports Wrap Jayson Page. And ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay on this Tuesday edition of the show, ladies and gentlemen, time for some and ends. Odds and Ends, Sam Yarnell. We had our first hole-in-one in TGL history. Yes, they do. The TGL is still going on. Neil Shipley with the accomplishment last night. A hole-in-one at TGL, Sam Yarnell.
Yeah,
wow,
shout out to James Madison alum, Virginia guy, Neil Shipley. Couple of things. First of all, I'm surprised that TGL has been going on as long as it has. It feels like it's been going on like at least a few years at this point. And this is the first hole-in-one. That's crazy. I know they play it like every week. So this being the first hole-in-one with all these pros, I know it's a golf simulator and it's harder to hit a hole-in-one on a golf simulator, allegedly. But it's still a little bit of a surprise. Another thing, and maybe it's just because it's golf in an indoor warehouse like arena, but the reaction just didn't hit the same. And because of everything I just said about it being a hole-in-one on a simulator and those theoretically being harder, you'd think that the reaction would have been more. It would have been crazier. But no, it was almost toned down, which I didn't love. But regardless, cool moment. Glad it was Neil Shipley. And, he's a kid, Jayson, who you and I talked a little bit about last season. He's really been up and coming lately on the PGA Tour and obviously with TGL, which I think is a branch off of the PGA Tour. But yeah, credit to Neil Shipley out of a small town, right? From JMU. Yeah. It's great to see. And by the way, hopefully they figure out this TGL thing.
Well, it is what it is. They're putting it on at all different times. Right. They're trying to play it earlier in the day. All right, it's fine. I mean, it's a great idea. And if you're a golf guy, you'll probably tune it in if you like golf. And as long as it gets 150,000 viewers, they'll probably keep doing it. I don't think they're asking all that much of it. So it's fine. Again, everything today in media is about rights. Is about play-by-play rights. Everybody wants play-by-play of something. Eventually, you're going to see a professional curling league on some, cable channel because everybody wants play-by-play rights to something. And as long as there's play-by-play rights out there, people are going to put play-by-play on TV, live sports on TV. By the way, on the golf thing, Patrick Reed won again on the DP World Tour. And he's basically guaranteed himself now a car, for the PGA Tour season. If it was anybody other than Patrick Reed and everybody didn't hate the guy's guts, we'd be talking about this a little bit more. But Patrick Reed, again, winning on the DP World Tour. And we talk about Brooks Koepka's return because he's Major Brooks and all that stuff. But wow. Patrick Reed is a very accomplished golfer who's going to be back on the PGA Tour soon, challenging Scottie Scheffler. I
think the difference is with the people, while people don't like Patrick Reed, be it rightfully or not,
rightfully.
I think the difference is sure. Thank you for opining on that there, Jayson. The difference to me is it's just the age. Patrick Reed is at the end of his career, whereas you could still make an argument that
he's not that old.
He's 40.
No. Hey, Google, how old is Patrick Reed? Oh, that was a fail. Hey, Google, how old is Patrick Reed?
This is not a paid advertisement.
He's 35. Okay. Phil Mickelson was, come on.
A little closer to Brooks' age. But my point was still this, right? You look at the top of the tour right now. It's Scotty, right? It's Xander. It's Akshay. It's Sahith Theegala's having a great year this year. It's these guys who are in their 20s. Patrick Reed, it just feels like he's competing with so many guys so much younger than him.
It's going to wrap it up for us on this Tuesday edition of the show. Thank you to Bill Bender for hanging out with us. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. We'll see you all back here on Wednesday for another edition of Sports Wrap. Tons of NBA talk then. We'll see you later.